Hi everybody, this is Cheryl and welcome to another episode of Prepping for Beginners. This one is You're Ready. At this point, I don't consider you a beginner any longer. At this point, you should have the basic information that will help you build a prepper's mindset. At this point, you should be prepping for everyday life. The events coming up in your future, such as graduations, holidays, life insurance, everyday things that you have to prepare for. You should also be possibly prepping for long-term, worst-case scenario events. Now, you should also be, at this point, gaining knowledge and skills. One of the things that you need to be doing is paying attention. Paying attention to local events, national events, and world events. A prepper should always be aware. Now, one of the ways that you can pay attention to your events that's happening on a local, national, and worldwide level is to watch the news. Yeah, some of the news is fake news. A lot of it is. Let's face it. Fact is fact. At this point, you should be able to determine what's fake and what's not. You should be looking at multiple types of news sources. Not just locally, but nationally. The mainstream media is not your only source of news. You have other sources that are not as well known, that's not part of the mainstream media. You have foreign news that you can watch, and you should be. You should be paying attention to all levels of the news so you can see and compare for yourself what's happening and what isn't. Just because one news source says one thing doesn't mean that they're all going to be saying the same thing. So pay attention to all of it. Pay attention. Social media is another way of gaining information of what's going on, of events. Again, pay attention and be aware that some of it is fake. Some of it is opinion. Take that into consideration and be aware of it. Pay attention to other sources. Gossip around town, listen to what's going on. Pay attention. Be aware. A prepper stays aware. Okay? So pay attention. Let me explain to you a local event that could be potentially bad for us. We have a factory just down the road from us that's going to be closing. And starting in January, they're going to be laying off. And the last of the people will be clocking out for the last time May 31st. What does that mean for our town? That means something really bad. Because there's going to be over 200 people laid off from that factory. That's 200 people that's going to be looking for jobs in a town that does not have 200 jobs available. Okay? Now, that could potentially cause problems with being able to find a job. That could cause problems with a lot more unrest. It could cause families to move away. Families that might be a good thing, might not. We don't know how it's gonna affect other communities. Could come back and haunt us, So paying attention to what's happening with that company and those people that are getting laid off is something that we're really going to have to watch and pay attention to and figure out, oh, is this going to be a bad thing? Is this going to be a good thing? How is this going to affect us directly? Paying attention to that kind of a thing in your local area is very, very important. Okay, so stay aware. Please pay attention and stay aware. All right, so the next thing you need to, at this point, you should know is your preps. You should know your gear. You should know how to use it, your knives, your stoves, your tools, your weapons. You should be able to not only use them, but know how to take care of them, okay? Know where they're stored, how to use them, what you need to do to make sure that they're going to continue to operate for you in the way that you need them to. You know, be aware of what's going on with your gear. Are you able to cook with no power? Have you figured that out yet? What if your power goes out and you don't have a means of cooking? Are you going to be able to do that? Have you figured that out yet? Okay. Have you collected recipes that do not require items that are refrigerated, milk, eggs, butter, that kind of thing? Have you come up with those kinds of things? Have you gotten your inventory and your to-do list and your shopping list? Are all those up to date? Have you figured all that out yet? At this point, you should have that going. That should be a regular thing for you at this point. Okay, knowledge and skill. How you doing on that level? You know, knowledge and skill could save your life. Regardless of what your preps are, regardless of what gear you have, regardless of how you use them and what knowledge you have, being able to have knowledge and skill can save your life. Your knife breaks, you figure out something else to use. At this point, you should have more than one. Remember, two is one and one is none. At this point, you should have that down. But what if your knives break and you don't have another one? What are you going to do? Have you figured that out? At this point, you should be figuring those things out. Okay? So, another thing I want to touch on is your prepper's library. At this point, your prepper's library should be well on its way to being complete. As far as your plans, what you have prepped, your inventory and such, what you should be writing down the recipes for every aspect of cooking and canning and food preserving your food. I can't talk today. And you should have all this in your prepper's library. You should have hard copy books. You should have your prepper's binder. You should have all of this together. It should be on the road. It should be a normal thing for you by this time. Okay? If it's not, get there. Okay? Now, does this mean that my series is going to end? No. Absolutely not. We're not done yet. Now, you should have the prepper's mindset at this point. That doesn't mean we're done. There's a whole lot more to learn, and we're going to learn it together. Okay? So, yeah, we're going to move forward. I have some topics that have been suggested to me by other preppers, by, different things that I still need to present to you. So we're not done. It's just at this point, you should be at a mindset where you are able to prep without anxiety, without the fear. At this point, it should be a habit. Okay? So pay attention to what I talked about. Be aware. Know your preps. And be learning your skills and your knowledge. Those are the main things. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about that's going to be very helpful to you is Kansas Prepper did a video. Now, I'll have to look and see what the video name is. As a matter of fact, I will put a link to his video in my description box. Now, this video was very, very good video. He done it back in September. Excuse me. And what he talked about was a list of different things that you should be taking into consideration. This actually goes along with my prepper's binder very well. And I'm going to show you the list I wrote down, okay? But I want you, it's kind of hard to see, I want you to go and watch this video because it was a very, very well done video, and it had a lot of information because he not only talked about making a list of all those things that are not always talked about, some of them, but things that preppers need to take into consideration. And he not only talked about that list, but he talked about different things that would be like fall under the categories. For example, water. We've already talked about water, the basics of it. But what about rain catchment? What about storage? What about filters? You know, those are the kinds of things that would fall under water. What about things like sanitation? Have you thought about sanitation? How are you going to sanitize? You know, how are you going to use the toilet if your power is out, your plumbing is out, and you can't flush the toilet? What are you going to do? You know, those are the kinds of things he talked about in this video. Now, again, I'm going to link this up in my description box. Please go watch this video. It is important. It will help you. It will give you more information for your prepper's binder. And that's Kansas Prepper. And again, I can't remember the name of it, but I will link it in my description. So at this point, I don't consider you beginners anymore. I consider you to have a more advanced level of prepping. And we're going to move on together, and we're going to learn more stuff, and we're going to share more stuff. There's plenty more that we need to do, we need to talk about, and we need to learn. So, but for the basics of prepping, we've covered it. Now we're going to move into more detailed stuff. We're going to dig a little deeper. We're going to talk more about different aspects of prepping, not just in food, water, safety, medical, that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about gardening. We're going to talk about preserving meat. We're going to talk about seed collection. We're going to talk about gear. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. So pay attention. Keep watching. Don't give up on prepping. You're doing fine. You've come a long way. And we're going to move on from here. So if you have any suggestions, if there's something you want to talk about, a particular topic, leave it in the comments below. If you have any tips or reminders, anything, you know, say you want to say, hey, you know what, I discovered this. Put it in the comments, because at this point, we're going to be learning together. We're going to be learning, and we're going to be teaching each other, sorry. So from here, I'm not sure which way I'm going to go. It depends on what comments I get. But, you know, stay tuned. We'll see what comes up. Make sure you comment below, and I will talk to y'all later. Y'all have a good day. Bye.